morning. Welcome, howdy. I'm Sam Haynes. I'm the Deputy Chief of Strategy and Stakeholder Relations for AUS, and I'm really grateful to see you all and grateful that you all braved day 3 or 4 of this persistent, sad London, Seattle weather. It doesn't make me feel very posh. I really miss the sun already. I'm sure you guys do too, but we're here indoors, thankfully. So thank you again for braving some of the dreary weather to come and learn a little bit about what it takes to join us on the journey to completely transform and modernize our airport. We're going to spend a lot of today talking about partnerships and how to build relationships, and that's really at the heart of the work that we do at the airport. And there's at least 1 or 2 partners here in the room and supporters in the room that I want to give a shout out to. I want to thank our Chief Business and External Affairs Officer, Tracy Thompson, for joining us this morning. Thank you, Tracy. And he's leaving the room right now, but Director Edward Campos. Hello, good morning. Thank you for coming, Ed. Thank you for all your support. For us at the airport, the right concession program starts with the right partnership. And we're really hoping that that partnership can transform and take shape starting today. As you guys know, if you're from here, Austin is a city that really prides itself on doing things a little differently. And we want our airport and most importantly, our concessions program to reflect that. We hear so often from our customers and our business partners that the second you step off of that plane, you know you're in Austin, Texas. And so much of that is really a testament to the concession program. And so with our expansion, we're looking to building more of that you're in Austin and Central Texas vibe, but also understanding that as our airport grows and our city grows, we've got to program in the right blend of national and international concepts as well. So think of today as kind of your first step with us on this journey. Listen, ask questions, introduce yourselves, start those conversations, especially with our prime business concessions that are here today. And speaking of questions, we have this QR code, which if you would oblige me in taking out your phone and scanning it now or when you have the chance, this is going to take you to a live Q&A tool in which you can submit your questions throughout any time today before we get to our open Q&A period. What I'm going to do is be checking in periodically to see what kind of questions we're getting. And my gut instinct is that a lot of the questions that you might have are going to be the same questions that you might have. And so you can also upvote a question that you really want to be answered through this tool. And I'll be taking the top 3 or 4 most liked, most upvoted questions. And we're going to dive into those when we get to the open Q&A portion. So we've assembled an excellent panel of experts and partners for you to hear from today, and we'll have about 4 to 10 minutes of presentations from our various partners up here on the stage. Like I said, we'll do a quick Q&A, and then we're going to close it out with a session specifically for those that are new to the airport concession world. So if you sound like that resonates with you, you've never operated in an airport before or an airport environment, you'll definitely want to stick around for that session. And once that session concludes, we're going to open it up for more of a mixer and networking. And that's really where we're hoping that especially the small and local businesses will get a chance to interact and meet with the big prime firms. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with learning a little bit more about our airport expansion and development program. We call it the Journey with AUS, and here to tell us more about it is our Airport Relations Officer, Kyle Carvel. Kyle leads stakeholder engagement and workforce development, and like I said, he's going to set the scene for us and tell us more about expansion. So thank you, Kyle.
All right, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay in the back? Good? Great. Thank you, Sam. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go through this very, very quickly. And when I say this, what I mean is an overview of our expansion and improvement program here at the airport. Is anyone not familiar with this program? Yeah, good. The PIO team, the communications team has been doing a great job. And obviously, anecdotally, you've probably seen the cranes and all the construction if you've traveled through our airport lately. So I'm going to set the table really quickly. A little bit of background about our airport. I know we've got some folks visiting from out of state. And some people may not have traveled through our airport as much, but we are a almost 27-year-old facility. We opened to commercial air traffic in 1999 with 25 gates. Our gate capacity right when we opened was for about 11 million passengers, and that's going to be important as I kind of walk through this. Obviously, Austin was a very different town in 1999, and we have grown considerably. I don't have to tell you all that, but as the airport evolved, as the city evolved, we began to see that we needed to develop a master plan, develop a little bit more strategy in terms of managing and handling that growth, right? And that kind of took the shape of a 2040 master plan. So a lot of the work that we're doing now is pulling from that master planning process. The biggest change at the airport since it opened is that 9-gate expansion. If you've traveled through our facility, it's on the east end of the Barbara Jordan terminal. It's where a lot of the Delta gates are and a lot of the international flights come in and out of. You can tell it's a little bit newer because it feels bigger and a little bit more roomy. And that's the kind of thing that you can expect to see in our expansion and a lot of the new infrastructure that we're going to have on board. So I know it's only been about 6 years, but time flies. During COVID, there was a little bit of trepidation in terms of, okay, what is this growth going to look like? What are our plans going to be? We pushed pause a little bit during that time, but coming back, starting in 2022, we are full force ahead on what we're calling the Journey with AUS Expansion and Development Program. So you'll hear that a lot, Journey with AUS. That's our branded reference point for our expansion program. We are going to talk a little bit about some of those projects today. I will caveat, like I said, I'm going to go quickly here because I know you want to hear from the rest of our panel. I will be in the networking room throughout the day. So if you want to dive deeper into anything I'm going to talk about in terms of the expansion of the projects or the timelines, please come visit me. A little bit more background about the airport. We sit on a 4,200-acre campus. We're a former Army Air Force base. So we've got a lot of elbow room. We're very fortunate in that way. 2 large runways. One of our runways can handle any commercial aircraft that is manufactured today. So we're very fortunate. That puts us in a competitive advantage for a lot of other airports as well. We are 700 strong here at the Austin Aviation Department, but we are just a fraction of the amount of people that work at the airport. There are 8,000 badged employees across over 100 businesses at the airport. So it is a mini city, a large ecosystem, 24/7 operation. I referenced 11 million earlier. As you can see, this is our passenger growth volume year over year for the past 20 years. The solid pink line kind of shows what that gate capacity looks like with our 34 gates during that time. As you can see, we had a little bit of a dip during COVID, but the new normal for us is 21 million plus passengers per year. Obviously, we are over capacity, and I don't think that's a shock to anyone if you've traveled through our airport and you've seen how busy we are and what we have going on. So what are we doing about it? A lot happening here. Again, happy to walk through this with you all if you want a little bit more info. But what you're seeing is an aerial view of our campus. All of the white infrastructure, all the white boxes are our current infrastructure. Everything colored is new, and the colors indicate different phases in which these projects are occurring, whether they're in design, whether they're in construction. And obviously right in the middle there, you can see that large new concourse. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But the thing to remember about this program, we are effectively rebuilding the entire airport. We're not just adding new gates here or a new facility here. We are completely redeveloping the airport, and we're doing that intentionally because we know the growth is going to continue. So if we're going to add new gates, if we're going to add new amenities, we know we need new utilities. We need new cooling capabilities. We need new midfield taxiways. We need new roadways, right? Those are all the enabling things that are going to help us continue to grow and to expand in the future, because that is what we're anticipating. A couple of projects I'm going to highlight really quickly, and these are intentional to highlight because they have a direct relationship with the concession opportunities that we're going to be talking about today. Concourse M, so if anyone's ever traveled to Europe, a lot of times they have a busing operation. We don't have that currently at AUS, but that is coming. Concourse M for midfield is going to be a prefabricated facility in the middle of our airfield, whereby we're going to have 6 gates that can handle narrow body aircraft. Gate 13, which is not currently operational, but will be, that is where passengers will get on a bus, be shuttled to Concourse M, again in the middle of the airfield, and they will be greeted by concessions, hold rooms, restrooms, and obviously airplanes to take them where they want to go. So kind of, we think of it as a pressure relief valve as we're in construction and we have those busy days during South by Southwest, and ACL and Formula One. This is really going to help the airport out in terms of having a little bit of extra capacity in the short term. So this is in design right now, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in the next room if you're interested. Probably the biggest headline, Concourse B. So our existing Barbara Jordan terminal is 34 gates. We will be adding a 26-gate concourse on our airfield about a quarter mile from where the Barbara Jordan terminal sits, connected by about a quarter-mile tunnel, right? And so this is a tremendous, tremendous change. We're effectively going to be almost doubling our gate capacity with these 32 new gates, the 6 gates for Concourse M and the 26 for Concourse B. In terms of where the airlines are going to be located, right now Southwest is our largest carrier. Obviously, a lot of their gates are concentrated in the middle of the Barbara Jordan terminal. When Concourse B opens, they will be our new anchor tenant. So the Southwest gates will be moving into Concourse B. Delta will be taking over a large part of Concourse A, and obviously a lot of our other signatory airlines and shared use airlines will be located in those 2 concourses as well. This is relevant because I think it really demonstrates the scale and the growth in terms of our gates that we can anticipate with Concourse B and with Concourse M, and it really signals the airline's commitment to Austin, the current growth that we're seeing and the growth that we're expecting to see as well. Finally, one major project that's coming, we're going to be moving the front door of the airport. So if anyone's familiar with the red garage, that's the premium garage that sits on our campus now. We are going to be building what's called a new arrivals and departures hall right on top of where the red garage sits today. So what that's going to do is allow us to have more capacity at the front of the house to handle all those new gates. So this is where folks will check in, go through security, drop off their bags, and do all of those things that you do before you go to find your gate. And the existing Barbara Jordan terminal, which again will become Concourse A, will be redeveloped to be post-security infrastructure. So that, again, is going to allow us to have more opportunities for concessions, for retail, for other passenger amenities in the future. Last slide here, a little bit of a timeline. I won't go through all these. Again, visit me in the next room if you'd like to talk through when and where and what. But this shows where we're at with some of those very large projects and what we can anticipate over the next couple of years. So with that, I will turn it back over to Sam, and we'll keep rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. One thing I really want to crystallize for everyone in this room, just imagine the last time you flew out of the airport, imagine those ticket counters. Think in the future, that will be concession space. That will be live music stages. That will be more public art, more amenities. So that's really the scope and scale of the changes that we're talking about here today. So thank you, Kyle, for giving us a really quick crash course in it. Like he said, he's going to be available in the next room to answer all your airport expansion questions. Next up, we have John Gallo. He is our Deputy Chief of Commercial Development at AUS. He oversees the full scope of commercial activity across the airport, from airline affairs to real estate, and of course, all the way to what we're talking about here today, that is concessions. And John is going to walk us through our current concessions program overview, talking about high-level, big picture things, what are our goals, and then he's gonna dive a little bit more into the passenger growth forecasts and our future plans. So with that, please join me in welcoming John Gallo.
All right, thank you, Sam. Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for joining us today and having an interest in our award-winning program. This program is one of the very first concession programs to provide a very local heavy presence in the airport commercial environment. And today I'll be going over our current program to lend some insights on how we operate that today. So to start, I first wanted to give you a snapshot on how we perform as a program. And as you can see here, we sell a lot of tacos, we sell a lot of beer, and we sell a lot of brisket. And one of the cool things about our concession program is that we've integrated our live music program into it. And we have over 1,000 live music performances each year. It's managed by a whole team of music professionals that does all of the onboarding of musicians, all the technical aspects of it. And it's a really integrated approach to our concession program. Since 2019, AUS has had one of the fastest growing airports in the country. and was one of the fastest growing airports to come out of the pandemic, as you can see. Here in the last 6 years, we have grown its seat capacity by 39%, where the US national average was 5%. Our latest passenger survey shows that 57% of our passengers are female. Our largest age demographic are travelers aged 25 to 34, which is not surprising for Austin, which has many young professionals with high-paying jobs looking for experiences. And they have disposable income to pay for those experiences and certainly spend that money at the airport. So I want to talk first about some concession program goals and our concepts. So our mission statement for our concession program is to design a concession program that will provide passengers with an authentic food, beverage, and travel experience that draws flavor from our diverse community to drive an original experience. And we have 4 goals to meet that mission. 1 is to modernize the program. A second is to enhance the customer experience. We want to maximize non-aeronautical revenue, and that leads us to support the funding for AUS growth. To meet these goals, we're looking for a diverse category of food and beverage concepts that reflect Austin and our larger MSA. We are also looking for retail opportunities that reflect the community and provide a unique shopping experience for our travelers. And we are looking for services that our passengers seek out during their travel to provide relaxation and comfort. So that leads us into our program vision of where we're heading. Our target concepts and program goals now lead us into that vision. And this vision starts with first understanding our passenger journey. The passenger journey will be changing once our new facilities are open and is being sized currently to support 25 million enplanements by 2042. We'll have a new expanded Barbara Jordan terminal or arrivals and departures hall that will include a central screening checkpoint, consolidating our 4 checkpoints into one seamless experience. Passengers will then flow into Concourse A, either going east or west, or down into the tunnel to connect to Concourse B. Once they arrive in Concourse B, they will arrive and first experience our North Marketplace, the main concession hub for Concourse B. Passengers can either then enter the North Marketplace or head east or west. If they travel west down the concourse, they will experience 3 other concession hubs. The concourse will be divided into concession nodes, with each node offering a variety of retail, food and beverage, and travel essential stores. The largest of these will be the West Market, which will have a larger food court area than the West and East subnodes. Restrooms will be across from each concession node and larger hold rooms adjacent to each node with between 6 to 8 gates within each area for an initial total, of course, of 26 gates. The North Marketplace will be our primary concession hub and will be the first experience that departing Concourse B passengers will engage as they enter from the tunnel. This marketplace will have approximately 37,950 square feet of space to support originating and connecting passengers. And our overall look and feel is to resemble Austin's Streetside Cafe. The food concepts will include a destination restaurant, a gourmet market, a gourmet coffee venue, an interactive bar with food, fast casual restaurants, and a destination bar located in the center of the marketplace. We'll also include a food hall that can support multiple quick serve brands and will include the primary music stage of Concourse B. On the retail side, it will support a travel essential store, a targeted specialty retail location, and a multi-branded retail location for local concepts and products. So now I'll kind of go into some of the distinctive elements that we'll be looking for. One is sidewalk seating. Ideally, these areas should be distinct to each concept. While each space will need signage, it would be great to have a few distinct signs similar to those that can be found in downtown Austin. Lighting can help set the stage and the mood, creating a festive and dramatic environment. And similar to the sidewalk seating, it would be nice to have the railing component become a part of each concept's design. The West Market will help serve approximately 32% of AUS enplanements, with many connecting passengers, with some with limited dwell time. This area will span approximately 18,270 square feet and will house a fast casual restaurant, a gourmet market with bar, a casual dining restaurant, and a gourmet coffee venue. On the retail side, the West Market will include a new news and bookstore and a multi-concept retail location. We're also targeting a passenger experience or wellness concept in the West Market as well. The seating area will also house the concourse's second music stage as part of the casual dining concept. The East Subnode will serve originating passengers who have already passed through Central Concourse A and, of course, Concourse B. These concepts will house a gourmet coffee venue, a bar with food, and quick serve concepts. This area will also include a vending location, but that offering will be included in an upcoming vending RFP set to be released next month. And then finally, the Concourse B will have a West Subnode. The West Subnode will support originating passengers who have already passed through Concourse A and the other three concession locations in Concourse B. Connecting passengers will be served by this location as well as originating traffic. This area is approximately 10,240 square feet and will house a gourmet coffee location, a bar with food and quick serve concepts, and a bar located at the very end of the concourse. On the retail side, a travel essentials store is also programmed in this subnode as well. One thing that we're really looking forward to in our upcoming program is that Concourse B will also include the airport's very first small business program. 8 pre-made kiosks will be built by the general contractor with locations in hold rooms and in the North Marketplace. These locations will not be included in the RFP, but will be a standalone program where local small business owners can apply for a short-term contract to sell their products directly to passengers. These small business owners will have to meet certain criteria, such as passing a background check to receive a security badge, maintain operating hours, and have active insurance on file. The small business program will allow more local vendors to sell their products directly to passengers. And our hope is to help break down barriers to open up the commercial program at AUS to more Austinites looking to expand their businesses. And now I will turn it back over to Sam to introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, John. There's a stat that John threw out, and that is that the airport has over 1,000 live music performances each year. And I've been trying so hard to quantify and qualify this data with no luck, but I think it does actually make the airport the busiest live music venue in all of Central Texas. So that's just something that's really exciting to think about, having your brand have a touch point in the busiest live music venue at the live music capital of the world. So to tell us more about the leasing approach and the solicitation information, this is all the actionable information that you all need to know. We have from Air Projects, our principal consultant partner, Ann Ferragudo. Ann is an industry legend and truly a concession subject matter expert. So she will come and chat us through the leasing approach and solicitation information. So thank you, Ann.
Good morning, everybody. Boy, I feel old now if I'm a legend, but
You can be a young legend.
okay, I'll go for
Michael
that.
Jordan was a legend. He was very young when he cemented legend
Okay,
status.
good. I'm good with that. Thank you all for coming. So I am going to go through some of the details that you'll need to know, and if you're interested in pursuing these great opportunities here. We'll talk a little bit about the schedule, opportunities in which you can get involved, key lease terms, pricing policy, hit some of the highlights on logistics, rent structure, etc. So first of all, in terms of the preliminary schedule, the Concourse B, which will be the focus of this solicitation, is in design. So it's currently in design development, and we anticipate the RFCP, request for concession proposals, to go out in the summer or fall of this year. There will be a pre-proposal conference once it's released in the fall, and we expect proposals will be due by the end of this year, and we're having agreements signed next spring. Then you'll have plenty of time for design and permitting, starting in the summer of 2027. So, ordering equipment, designing, permitting, all of that, so that construction can start in the summer of 2029, with the anticipated opening of concourse B in early 2030. There are lots of different ways in which you can get involved in this program. So you can choose your entry point. You can be a prime concessionaire, and there are several primes here for networking today. You can be a sub-concessionaire. Many will be seeking specialty concepts. You can be a joint venture partner. You can have various other smaller roles, but very important roles. For instance, you could be a brand partner, you could supply product, you could be a designer or a contractor. So we'll go into those opportunities in a little more detail. Many of you are new to the airport food service and retail business, so we wanted to make sure that you were familiar with all the different ways that you could be involved. So as a joint venture partner, they share responsibility for the concession, the entire package of concessions that will be operated based on the percentage of ownership. So if you have a 10% share, for instance, in a joint venture, you'll be responsible for 10% of the capital investment, 10% of the investment, the revenues or losses. So that's quite a big responsibility. You would typically have one or more key roles to fill as part of the joint venture. And you would typically sit on a type of management board that they would have that, runs the joint venture. You could also be a sub. So the sub role is for those who want to have complete control over some component of the program. Could be one or more units within a package of concessions. The rent would be reported and paid through the prime concessionaire. You could be a franchisor or licensor. So you could license or franchise your concept, your brand, to one of the primes, and they would operate it. You would earn a negotiated percentage of the gross sales that are generated from that concept, and you typically be involved upfront in setting the product mix, menus, whatnot, and then have an ongoing relationship with the prime, looking over the brand quality, service standards as it's run. You could be a product vendor. So if you produce a unique or local product that could be sold at the airport, you could enter into an agreement with one of the operators for a store or restaurant and sell your product to them to then be sold at the airport. It's important, if you're thinking about something like that, that you make sure that you have a business that can scale up, because there are millions of people going through the airport every year, and you need to be able to constantly supply your product in significant volumes to be sold at the airport. And of course, as John mentioned, we've got the small business direct opportunities that we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. In terms of some anticipated key lease terms, there will be a minimum investment requirement, and it will be on a per square foot basis. This will be established in the request for proposals. The threshold will be very reasonable. You will likely exceed it. There will also be a midterm investment requirement. Typically halfway through the lease term, you will be required to invest a minimum of 15% of your original investment to completely refurbish the locations. There will be minimum hours of operation, and these will be set by Austin Aviation based on flight schedules. There is a consolidated receiving and distribution center, also known as a CRDC. Concessionaires will be obligated to participate and have their deliveries go through the CRDC, and therefore pay their share of the services, the logistic services that are provided. There's a marketing fund contribution of 0.5% of sales. And there is also a pricing policy. The pricing policy is street plus 10%. So that means that you can charge the same prices that are charged on the street in the Austin metropolitan statistical area and for the same or similar products. So you can charge up to 10% more than the average price for the same or similar products that are charged on the street. Any merchandise with a pre-printed price, like a book, you have to charge that pre-printed price. They also have a requirement that you will need to, if you sell beverages, you need to have a $2 bottle of water available for customers. And everything needs to be priced, including alcoholic beverages, including their pour sizes. So all of those must be displayed on a shelf, in a menu, on the product itself. And there will be no credit card surcharges as part of this policy. In terms of operating standards, I mentioned there will be minimum hours. So this is different from the street, where every unit is open every day of the week, every day of the year, 365. And there are minimum operating hours. And they are often extended due to flight delays or emergencies. And this is different on the street. So if there's inclement weather, you might close your store or your restaurant. Here, you actually stay open longer. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at these opportunities. In terms of customer service, every concession employee is considered an ambassador of the airport and reflects the Austin community. So customer service is super important. And you will be obligated to comply with all of the airport's security requirements. So all concession employees must pass a background check and obtain an airport identification badge. All airside employees have to pass through the security checkpoint, just like you do when you're a passenger. You have to do this if you're working airside as an employee. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a centralized receiving and distribution center, or CRDC, and all deliveries will be handled through this facility. It will be open 7 days a week with specific operating hours. And once they bring product to the terminal, could be to a unit, to a storage area, then you would be responsible for moving it back and forth yourself between your storage area and your units. In terms of waste management, concessionaires have to use designated locations, specific containers, transportation routes, et cetera, in terms of moving waste through the building. And there's a third party that will pick up and dispose of used cooking oil. There is office and storage space. Typically, airport space is quite limited in this regard, but we anticipate a certain amount being allocated for the different packages of concessions, with potential opportunity to lease additional space at the airport's going rate. In terms of the rent structure, it's a kind of a two-tiered approach. So you've got a minimum annual guarantee. So that would be the minimum floor, and that will be set in the RFP by Austin Aviation. You'll pay 1/12 of that minimum annual guarantee on the first of each month. Then, at the beginning of the following month, you'll tally up your sales and pay an additional amount, if necessary, based on a percentage rent that you will propose. So you pay the higher of the two, basically, the minimum rent or the percentage of sales rent each month. In terms of the solicitation process itself, the airport does follow the City of Austin rules and policies governing the revenue contracts. The leases will be presented to the Airport Advisory Commission and the City Council for approval. The leases are not binding until the City Council approves it, and then it's executed by the CEO of the airport. Proposals will be, or the RFP will include packages of concession opportunities, and you need to propose on all of the concession units in a package. You can't just pick out like one store or one restaurant and say, oh, I want to go after that. You need to go after the entire package. So if you're interested in only one opportunity, today's a good day for you because you can network with folks that are interested in going after the larger packages. The proposals will become public property, and they are subject to the Texas Open Records Act. So that's important in terms of whatever you put in that proposal can become public information. However, none of the proposal information will be disclosed prior to decisions being made for the award. So let's just look quickly again at the small business opportunities. There are 8 kiosks included in this opportunity. They're about 113 square feet each. As John said, they will be designed by the design team and built out. They will be working on a design that can accommodate a variety of products, some of which are listed here. So there are a lot of different products that passengers are interested in buying at the airport, and this will be a really good addition to the specialty retail program here. In terms of the business terms, these have not been finalized, but it's anticipated that there will likely be a minimum of 12 months of operation. There will also likely be a similar rent setup, but different amounts in terms of a minimum annual rent and a percentage rent where you'll pay the higher of the two. You will also have minimum operating hours, but they will likely be shorter, maybe something like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And you would be responsible for managing your own security, employee badging, staffing, handling your deliveries, and for certain capital and operating expenses. So you have to provide your own point of sale system, your own sign, of course, your own staff, manage the staff, all of your inventory, and you're responsible for the cost of that inventory. You'll have to provide insurance. And if you need additional storage space, there will be a charge for that as well. There will be minimum requirements set for the kiosk opportunities. You will need to prove that you currently own, operate, and control a business and have a valid business license. You'll need to provide references, an existing lease, or if you own your location, provide financial statements and or tax returns. You'll need to prove that you have the experience and the wherewithal to operate a business at the airport and demonstrate that prior experience through showing locations, photographs. There might be site visits that the airport folks will take, providing historical sales and transaction information. The solicitation process will likely be an application process. So you will have to provide a lot of information that's listed here in terms of who you are, what you're currently doing, who owns the company, the merchandise that you would be selling, the product pricing, your customer service plan. All of that will need to be provided as part of the application process. In terms of the timeline, this will be initiated after this initial concession program solicitation. So we'll get this in place, and we're currently anticipating summer or fall of 2027 for the small business kiosk program. So you have plenty of time to think about this ahead of time, get any aspects of your business arranged so that you can pursue this opportunity. You'll have plenty of time to submit an application, usually 60 or 90 days once it's issued. And there could be an interview or a site visit, as I mentioned. And the kiosks will need to be open when everything else opens for Concourse B in 2030. This will be, because these are shorter term leases, this will be a rolling opportunity. So if you don't get in on the first round of the 8 kiosks, this will continue. So there will be a lot of opportunity for many years. All right, I'm gonna turn it over here. Let's go.
Thank you, Anne. One of Anne's legendary super strengths is she has an amazing team that's been supporting not just this effort, but our entire concessions master planning process. They're not here, but Anne, if you could just give our thanks to Chris and Alessia specifically, they've been incredible. We've got one more quick presentation before we dive into our Q&A. We've talked a lot about the airport, but now it's time to bring it up a level and really hear about this topic from the City of Austin holistic perspective. And we have with us Jolene Cochran, the program manager in the compliance division with Austin's Small and Minority Business Resource Department. So she'll be talking to us about the city's SMBR program, as well as the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So welcome, Jolene. Thank you for joining us.
All righty, how are y'all doing? Good. Y'all excited about these opportunities? How many are small businesses? That kiosk program sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, the Small and Minority Business Resources Department, the ACDBE program, recent changes, talk about the ACDBE neutral program highlights, some small business opportunities, and then, of course, we're going to share some SMBR resource information with you. Okay, if you don't know about the Small and Minority Business Resources Department, we administer the minority-owned, women-owned, and disadvantaged business procurement programs for the City of Austin. Our mission is to promote access and equity on City of Austin contracts, providing economic opportunity to small, minority-owned, women-owned, and disadvantaged businesses. Our department consists of 4 divisions. We have our certification division, our compliance division, we have a resource division, as well as our strategic services division as well. So in the compliance division, what I do is assist with managing the city's ACDBE program. That is our Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program. This program is operated through the Federal Aviation Administration. The FAA maintains a separate program for concessions in airports under Title 49, Part 23. The ACDB program through the Department of Aviation provides a vehicle for increasing participation for all small businesses, whether you're women-owned, minority, etc. And it's for in the state of Texas, as well as our local procurements for our airports. The federal regulations require the Department of Aviation that receive USDOT financial assistance to do these things: establish a DBE program, establish narrowly tailored goals for participation of ACDBEs, and then also foster small business participation. Over the years, we have done so, but as you may be aware, as of a result of the interim final rule that was issued by the USDOT last year, October, the airport is now currently operating a ACDBE neutral program. So what is that, Jolene? Well, the ACDBE neutral program highlights, there's some highlights that I just want to point out to you. We are no longer assessing goals at the beginning of procurements. So what does this mean? It gives everyone an opportunity, whether you are ACDBE certified or not, an opportunity to be able to participate in the in the concessions opportunities, regardless of what your certification status is at the time. All small businesses, regardless of certification, can be considered for opportunities. Also, the ACDBE Neutral Utilization Plan is a required submission as a requirement of matter of responsiveness to the contracts, the RFPs that are being submitted. We also require that letter of intent from all the concessionaires be submitted along with those utilization plans. And then also SMBR will be approving those plans to move forward in the procurement process. Some of the things I wanted to highlight about post-award compliance, the IFR did not really mess with that. What they did is say that we can continue to monitor compliance for all contracts that have ACDBEs on them. We still require the gross receipts reporting. We will look at verification of payments for all of the subcontractors and suppliers through an expenditure reporting process. Then we also will have a closeout process that verifies all subs and release of retainage for construction build-out projects are done as well. One of the things that SMBR is proud of is that we are able to participate in the procurement process from the beginning through the end of a contract. So we would continue to do that. In addition, we do have public consultations and outreach events to foster small business participation for all of these awesome opportunities that you're hearing about today. So I wanted to emphasize again the small business opportunity. Right now, the Texas Department of Transportation is going through the reevaluation process for those who are ACDBE certified. If you want more information about that, we have a table next door as well. We have our certification team here, as well as our compliance team, that will guide you through helping you to understand how to do that, where to file for your application, etc. So we are here to assist you with that process. But regardless of where you are, and I want to emphasize that, it doesn't matter where you are in your certification process at this time, you can still participate on these amazing opportunities. As Anne has submitted and discussed earlier, there are different ways that you can participate. She has more details with that. I encourage you to look at that. One of the things that SMBR does is that we have prep courses that we are providing to small businesses, especially those who do not have any experience in airports. We will be having more prep courses coming up in the near future, specifically to provide opportunity for you to learn more and get yourself ready for those small business kiosk opportunities so that you can eventually scale your business to be able to bid on future concessions opportunities at our airport. So with that being said, see, I'm done. I got in there and I said, I'm getting out. So we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions anytime. We're here the whole day. So find me, find my team. There's the team in the back. I have my director here as well as my compliance officer here. We'll be happy to assist you with any questions. But like I said, we want you to make sure you understand. We want you to take advantage of these opportunities. It's almost a once in a lifetime opportunity. I'm an Austinite. Yep, I'm an Austinite, born and raised at Breckenridge Hospital here in Austin. So we really want you guys to take advantage of these opportunities, and we'll be providing information about future prep courses and that's coming up soon. All right? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jolene. Jolene and the Austin SMBR team do an incredible job supporting the airport, but their support doesn't just start and end at the airport. They are here to holistically support small businesses across the city of Austin. So if you're a small local business here in Austin and you're not already plugged into their offerings, please do that before you leave today. They are really an incredible resource and we're lucky to have them. So we're going to get started with some Q&A. And if I did this correctly, I have no doubt that you all did everything correctly. But if I did this correctly, I have the top 3 questions. So what I'm going to do is come around with a microphone for my panel members here. I'll start with Kyle. You might have to pass it. We're going to do these top 3 questions first, but then we'll open it up for an open Q&A. And I've got some folks that are microphone runners. So if you have a question after these 3, just raise your hand. So the first question, this might be for John and Ann. What is the expected construction cost / square foot? I can share that for the entire expansion, for all of the projects a part of this program, we are looking at around $5 billion worth of improvements. That's the airport's largest expansion program in history, as well as the city of Austin's largest capital improvement program. So I know I can answer that one, but can you just tell us a little bit more about the square foot and maybe contextualize it? How many new square footage for concessions specifically?
Yeah, we will have, close to 40,000 square feet of new concession space at the end of the day. And I think what's important is it really based on if you're building out a restaurant or a retail location. Those capital costs can vary significantly. So in Austin, we've seen things range from, of course, we'll have a minimum capital investment requirement, but we've seen build-out costs in the airport anywhere between $800 to $1,000 per square foot. Sounds like a lot, but that's about standard what you see here in Austin. It's been higher than that. Prices have come down, fortunately, and but really we want to target those minimum capital investment requirements. And as Ann stated, we'll probably end up exceeding them based on that cost per square foot.
Thank you, John. And I can also answer question number 2. Will the presentation be made available? Yes. So the presentation decks that you've seen this morning will be made available. We will post them on our website as well as send you all out an email with that. And we also are recording this as well. If you have any colleagues that weren't able to make it today, you're welcome to share with them the video recording as well as the deck that we presented. So yes. Let's go to Ann and John again and talk to us a little bit more about the kiosks. Specifically, will the lease be limited to 12 months for the kiosks?
We're still evaluating that. We certainly want to have a minimum amount and a maximum amount. So we've discussed that they can range anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And really we want to do that when the applicants sit down with us. We want to establish goals with them. And as long as you're meeting those goals and targeting those goals, we may extend for a longer term as well. So, but as Ann said, the goal of the small kiosk program is to break down some barriers. These contracts only come up every decade or so, the larger contracts that we presented today. And we want this kiosk program to really be that kind of revolving door of folks coming in and having opportunities to sell their products at the airport.
Thank you. Those are all the questions that I can see on my end, so I'd love to open it up to the room. If you have a question, let's go right here, the gentleman in the gray, and I've got my colleague Samantha, who's coming down with speed and expediency. Yes. Thank you, Samantha. And if you don't mind just introducing yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vic. The owner of the for a year in Austin. It's like an elevated indoor community golf course, the full service restaurant bar. In the midst of expansion right now, so this would be a very interesting option for us. But I have 2 questions, actually. First question would be for the franchisor model, what costs and what ultimately are the responsibilities for ownership in that model? And the second question, obviously, the concept, when you talk about experiences, I think it was West Market, it was one that you tagged for additional experience. What options are you looking at, or what do you favor alternatively for the benefit?
Yeah, so the actual costs that will be involved would be something you'd negotiate with one of the prime operators who would actually be operating your concept. And it's typically based on a percentage of the sales that are generated. And so you wouldn't necessarily have responsibility for the capital investment and things like that, but you would typically be involved in the design, the menu, all that goes into it up front, and working with the prime on that. What was the second part of your question? I forgot.
The second part was for the experiences that you're looking at in new terminal.
Yes. So there is a space in the what's called the North Market, which is that main area of almost 40,000 square feet. There is something called an interactive bar, and so that is a location where the idea is that there would be some sort of experience. So it could be something like your concept, or something else that passengers can do that have a little more dwell time. So it would be a bar, a restaurant, but there'd also be some kind of activity associated with that concept. So that's something that you may want to explore in the next room.
And I've got some more here. Since bar restaurant opportunities are so limited, is there additional criteria that could make my business stand out?
Good question. A lot of times airports and operators look at experience. So if you've been open for a long time, you have that kind of staying power here in Austin, that can certainly go to help you out. I think, but we're Austin. We're a little quirky. We're a little different. We're a little weird, as we say. And I think there's many ways that you could stand out as it relates to the popularity of your venue and just the longevity as well.
Thank you, John. And I've got one more. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add too, there's almost, the primes can question this later, but there's something like the 80-20 rule a little bit for airports, where you're not going to be able to do everything you do on the street. The kitchens are smaller, the restaurant or bar itself is typically smaller, and the timing has to be fast. Because people are here to really catch a plane. So it's also, I think, a matter of, can you do that? Can your concept accommodate what needs to happen in an airport? Do you have menu items that can be produced in a quick amount of time? Can you scale up to the airport environment? Can you meet all of the customer service needs that will be required to operate in an airport?
All right. And I think this one is for you as well, certainly you and John. Can you provide us just a little bit more info on the timelines for the different RFPs and the different solicitations?
So the Concourse B will go out, we're targeting like late August to maybe early September, with the pre-proposal conference being sometime in September. As I talked about earlier, our vending RFP, we're targeting for next month, maybe later next month, as well as we're finalizing that documentation. And then, as Ann walked you through kind of the timeline of the Concourse B RFP, soon thereafter we'll be releasing the Concourse A RFP that will be associated with our new pre-security locations in our AD hall. So the concepts in Concourse A that will be included in that are really located in that center part of the current terminal building, where you see the kind of the main concession hub of the current program, because we have to reimagine that space as we build out the AD hall and have that central checkpoint. All that traffic has to flow through the center of the facility. So we'll be looking to reimagine that area. And then the west concessions on the west side of Concourse A will go out probably sometime in 29. And then the east end, those contracts end in 2033. So we'll be targeting probably 2031 for the release of that RFP. So a lot of opportunities over a short time frame.
And let's stay on the subject of those RFP packages. Can you tell us how the packages will be structured? Will there be fewer larger packages or many medium-sized ones? Talk us through it.
Yeah, they have various sizes. We'll have 5 food and beverage packages and 2 retail packages for a total of 7 for this upcoming Concourse B RFP. And so we're targeting some sales for those different packages and what those would bring as far as revenue. And then there are various sizes and locations, but they're all about the same amount at the end of the day relative to whether it's food and beverage or retail.
And we've got 2 questions that are inquiring about the type of food that will be available. And so folks want to know local versus national, Indian, Asian food. So just at a high level, what are we looking for and what kind of proposals, do we tend to get excited about?
The answer is D, all the above. No, we're going to be targeting all different types of cuisines. We know what we currently don't have in the airport that we want to bring to the airport as well. But really we're targeting right now is the concept descriptors right now. And so we're still working through that. But all different types of cuisines. We are a local heavy program. We are leaning into that. That's what we're famous for. And but doesn't mean that regional and national brands don't have a place as well. As I say, we have a Starbucks, folks, just like every other airport. So, and we're really proud of that Starbucks and the way they operate. So there's a place for every type of business. But yes, we will still be a very locally centric program at the end of the day.
And I know we talked a little bit about the kiosk program, and we're still assessing the lease length for that. But specifically, someone wants to know if there's going to be an option for a more pop-up style with perhaps a 3-month program, just as an example. Is that something that's on the table?
It's certainly something we can think about. It wouldn't be associated probably with the kiosk program, but I know a lot of the vendors currently, they'll do certain pop-up engagements currently. And so there's always those opportunities where you could partner with the primes, with the operators in the airport to do those small type of engagements on a short period of time. You don't necessarily need the airport to do that. You can work directly with the vendors.
Great insight. And one question is about art. So the airport has 2 different types of art programs. We have the City of Austin Art and Public Places program. That's permanent installations that are constructed through our expansion program. And then we have rotating exhibits as well. But John, can you tell us a little bit more about the decor, the art, kind of the freedom that the concessionaires have to really turn their space into their space, and how that's different from, the concourse hallways?
Yeah, we certainly have design requirements that everybody needs to meet at a minimum that have to be met. But we also want to provide y'all the ability to be creative, to attract people into your locations, to have that kind of eye-popping experience as somebody walks down the concourse and goes, ooh, I want to walk in there, see what's going on in there. So we do give a lot of freedom to that, especially on the interior part. Where our design standards really focus on are requirements for utilities and basic infrastructure that your units have to tie into the main systems of the airport. So we certainly give you the freedom to do that, but we're also targeting, especially in the North Marketplace, as I pointed out, certain concepts to have that kind of street style cafe experience that Austinites have when they go downtown to eat. We're kind of wanting to kind of replicate that to a certain extent. So a lot of freedom, but there will be standards that you have to meet.
Thank you, John. That's all the time we have for questions. I know there was one about Concourse M that we didn't get to, but you can chat with Kyle over in the next room in just a bit. There is certainly a wealth of information and knowledge here on the stage, in this room. So please take advantage of it. And if you don't today, that's okay. We're still here. We're still here to support you all. So if you have any questions throughout this process, we encourage you to reach out to our commercial management team led by John, and they can be reached at, get your pens out, AUS, and then a period, commercial management at flyaustin.com. But you can also use your phones to scan this QR code and sign up for our email list, in which we will be sharing information about those pre-submittal conferences, any future events, and of course, once these bid packages go live and are ready to accept your proposals, we'll be making those announcements to that email list as well. So before we get started with the networking portion, I have just one more session for you all. And this one really is a how to operate an airport concession 101. So if you're a prime firm, this one's probably not for you, but you're welcome to stay. And of course, if you are someone who this is all new information and possibly overwhelming, we understand. And so that's why we're going to wrap up the presentations with kind of a one-on-one from John and Ann to tell us more about how to operate a concession at our airports.
It's kind of short and sweet, but we wanted to give you a little bit more information if you are not familiar with airport operations or you haven't operated an airport before. So we'll go through some common terminology, lots of lingo in this industry, some operating standards highlights, scaling the business, and some more information about design and permitting and construction. So in terms of common terminology, you hear us referring to concession. And when you think of a concession, you're probably thinking of like a fair or a movie theater. Well, we still use that term here. It's been used forever. And it basically is all of the restaurants and retail at an airport are referred to as concessions. So including the kiosks, the vending, advertising, it's all a concession at the airport. Enplanements are departing passengers. So some will be originating here in Austin. Others, especially some of the Southwest folks on Concourse B, will be connecting. But they are all enplaning passengers. And one of the key benchmarks that's used in the industry is sales per enplanement. So your gross sales are divided by the number of enplanements in a concourse or terminal, and that is a benchmark that's looked at to compare, sales between different concepts and even different airports. So that's a key benchmark. You'll hear the term pre-security and post-security, or landside and airside. So pre-security is basically everything that is landside or before the security checkpoint, and post-security is everything that's airside. So once you get past security, like when you go through the security checkpoint as a passenger, you go airside, you go post-security. So there will be concessions eventually that'll be leased pre-security as well. All of the Concourse B locations are post-security. SIDA is the Security Identification Display Area. This specific security badges are required for the SIDA areas, and typically that's limited to just a few of the concession employees. A certain percentage of employees are allowed to have those because they will get typically additional airside access, and so that is restricted. You'll also hear the term captive audience, and this is a term that's often used to refer to airport passengers. We recommend that you never think of passengers as a captive audience, because they are the customers at the airport. You would not treat your customers on the street as a captive audience, and they don't want them treated here as a captive audience. So get that out of your mindset. They are not a captive audience, and they will have plenty of options to choose from here at the airport. So John's going to hit on operating standards.
I think there's four main kind of operating standard highlights that I'll kind of go through real quick. One, of course, is we've been talking about customer service. That is first and most important. We pride ourselves on generating a passenger experience that exceeds expectations and desires the delivery of a first-class service. So concession employees must be prompt, they must be courteous, and provide a positive attitude at all times. Even on a bad day, they need to stand there and have that smile and greet our customers and our traveling public. Training. We also want them highly trained, and we'll have a minimum amount of training requirements. Currently, it's 4 hours that they have to go through a training course that is pre-approved by the airport, and before they must complete that before an employee can report to work. This training includes airport security, customer service guidance, general airport wayfinding, employee customer communications and interactions. Concessionaires, of course, they need to be trained on your point of sale system, and information regarding concession locations at the airport and normal hours of operation. Concession employees routinely become an ambassador, as we talked about, and so they're going to get questions about where's the United gate, where do I go to board my Southwest flight, and so having that kind of high-level ability to help out customers at all levels. Where's the restroom? Where can I go to do this? They're going to get all sorts of questions, and we want employees to be able to help our passengers with anything they need. Next is security and badging. So as Ann was talking about, the Airport Security and ID Office is responsible for issuing all of our access badges at the airport. It is of the utmost importance. Security and safety come first. All employees must be able to secure and keep an airport security badge, and it must be visible at all times. Concessionaires are responsible for these badges and must notify security if an airport badge is lost or stolen. And then the fourth item that we wanted to cover was dress code. Employees must adhere to established concessionaire dress code at all times. Uniforms must be cleaned, they must be pressed, worn appropriately. They must wear their badge as directed by security and comply with all FDA food code guidelines regarding fingernails, and make sure that they cover up any inappropriate tattoos. So basic requirements for dress code.
Okay, excuse me. I've mentioned a couple times about scaling your business for the airport because of the heavy volume of passenger traffic that comes through the airport. So concessions typically operate 16 to 18 hours a day, 365 days a year. There are no closures. There are no holidays. And sufficient staffing needs to be provided for all of those hours of operation. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. The kiosk hours may be shorter, as we mentioned earlier. Hourly rates or hourly wages can be higher at the airport. Your employees often have to travel farther to get to work. It can be a little more difficult to park, and they may need to park somewhat remotely from the terminal. They need to go through the security checkpoint. So there are a few more things that they need to do than just drive up, park, and head inside and start working. So that's something to keep in mind as you think about this. As you look at the potential operations, making sure that you can provide sufficient product inventory during all operating hours is critical. The shelves they need to be stocked because there'll be a bank of flights, and the next thing you know, you're wiped out. You need to restock right away because the next bank's coming. So this may mean that you need to get, more frequent purchases of products or get them in greater quantities. You will need to provide monthly reports to the airport detailing your sales, sometimes by product type. That's how they know how many tacos are sold. Transactions, rent calculations, the rent due. So all of those will be figured out and presented to the airport on a monthly basis. Rent is paid twice a month. The minimum would be due on the first of the month, and the percentage rent calculated based on your prior month's sales would then be paid by the 10th day of the following month. And there could be additional fees, or there will be additional fees for trash removal, pest services, the logistics, that CRDC that we mentioned. So there's the marketing fund. So there will be some additional fees that will come along with operating at the airport.
Lastly, we have design permitting and construction and maintenance requirements. So as we kind of talked about earlier, concessionaires are 100% responsible for the design, permitting, and construction of their units, including the investment and fees related to that build-out. All concessionaires must be, or concession locations must be professionally designed in accordance with our tenant design guidelines, which will be published in the RFP as well. And concession designs are submitted on approval at each phase as design is completed. So we typically go through a 30, 60, 90 review process as your design, during your design evolution. And that's, and during that process, all of our different trades at the airport, our plumbers, our electricians, our carpenters, our environmental team are all reviewing those and providing comments back to you to update your design sets so that your contractor is building out exactly what's needed to meet our standards. The store and restaurant build-outs typically take about 90 to 180 days. Again, as I stated earlier, that really depends if you're building out a retail location or, of course, a restaurant. Restaurants will, of course, take longer because of all the different equipment and utilities that have to be brought in to support that. Concessionaires are responsible for all maintenance and ongoing repairs. Most repairs must be completed within 24 hours to ensure the unit continues to operate. So in your contract, typically, if you're not maintaining your unit, there's fines associated with that potentially. Again, we want these units to be open, operating, clean, functional, 24/7. And concessionaires are responsible for the cleaning and cost of utilities as well. So that cost of utilities is usually covered through your MAG. You won't have like a separate utility bill, but and then you'll have certain fees that the airport covers as well as far as maintenance goes. So we'll do hood vent cleaning, we do food court janitorial cleaning, and all the concessionaires pay a proportionate share of those maintenance costs back to the airport. So I believe that's all I have, Sam.
Thank you, John and Ann. Well, at the airport, we can't control if your flight takes off or lands on time, but we are responsible for this event, and very proud to say we started a little late, but we're actually ahead of schedule. So with that, this is your time, especially if you're a small or a local firm. This is the time to start introducing yourself, making those connections, taking that first step to building a relationship with a prime. And don't get distracted by the amazing, shiny airport and City of Austin staff. We are here to help, of course, but think of us as kind of guides and support. We're really the crux of what you're here to do today is to introduce yourself to those primes. So I just want to thank you all for coming and joining us. I also really want to give a special thank you to Tay Martinez. She was our event manager for this event and managed everything and did an incredible job. So thank you. With that, please enjoy the rest of the time we have together. And if you haven't signed up to receive those email updates, please do so, because that's how you will receive these materials and hear from us when we have future events. So thank you all so very much.